Hey guys, Moose here with another episode of Minecraft. I'm here with Eric
Hello.
and Karen, who's hiding by a pole.
Hi. Hey, hey.
I don't know why she's in the corner there. Anyway, I'm on a horse. I don't have any diamonds or old spice, but I'm going to be exploring, and these two are going to be working on all this crap. This is Eric's barn. Or not, fuck, I mixed up the two buildings. This is his bar.
Gee, thanks.
And, I think fair to say work in progress at
Yeah,
this
I'm
point.
still putting the finishing touches, but I think it's the basic shape is good.
Yeah, and similarly also a work in progress. That's a barn, the actual barn that I'm here. We have horses. Fucking water. Horses, as you can see, and then I can't get in. I'm not getting off my horse, but oh fuck it, I hit shift. I'll get off my horse. Here's the bar. We tried lighting the fireplace a little while ago, and it lit the house on fire. So we'll maybe leave that for a little later. But two good buildings in progress, and it's got some fun stuff. Actually, I didn't show the counter. Let me show the counter.
I still don't know what went wrong there. I've never had a problem.
It's just a proximity issue, I think. Anyway, while they're working on all that, I'm actually going to be exploring way the hell off into the distance, trying to find a ravine. Because that's what I feel like doing, and also we could kind of use materials a little bit. And I kind of want to get a third saddle, because we have two right now, so it's kind of shit for one of them. Because while I'm off doing this, only one of them can ride a horse if they want to go somewhere. And at some point we're also going to be doing a second settlement or something, and we'll probably, I don't know, it kind of depends on what they want to do, but in my head I figure one will be like Karen's home, and then one will be Eric's home, unless they want to build it in the town. I don't know, whatever you guys want to do.
I look forward to building some stuff off the beaten path. That way we can kind of develop a culture.
Yeah, whatever you want to do. Different building materials in different areas, or, you know, different biomes. I think I'm already further than I've ever been in this direction, so... Whoop, having some issues there. Lots of horses here, all gray. But yeah, I'm hoping to find... Oh, that didn't work. I'm hoping to find all the stuff we've been looking for. Like tundra. Or like a snowy frozen biome, and then like jungle and stuff. So, anyway. Last couple episodes while you were gone, Eric, we actually talked about first what Karen's ideal game... Ow, horse got hurt. What Karen's ideal game would be, and then what my ideal game would be. And I admittedly didn't really have much of an answer, because it's too complex of a question. There's too many different things, especially someone kind of focused on LPs now. It's sort of rough to say, well, this would be best or that would be best. Oh, hey.
For sure, it's kind of a loaded question, because there's so many different answers. But I think if you really narrow it down, it could be interesting. So
yeah, I've
got some things I could say.
I just wasn't able... Yeah, what we're getting to is... What's yours? But I need to ask permission for something first. I found a desert temple.
Oh.
Am I allowed to go explore without you guys? Do you mind?
Yeah, go for it. I don't care.
Alright. I'll bring
Just
this...
don't blow yourself up.
I'm relatively certain I will. Please don't wander... fuck you, horse. I'm gonna wall the horse in, because I don't trust it not to run away. This one's a quick one. Alright, so... We talked about this briefly before, and you said you'd thought about this a lot. And I have too, but I'm not, I guess, smart. So, what's your ideal game? What's the best for Eric?
Well, the first time I ever paid attention to like what I was doing in a video game, rather than just playing it, was probably when I started playing hardcore, like the NES games, right? Like Castlevania, Ninja Gaiden, and all those, like action platformers of the 80s, 80s and 90s. So,
I was gonna say, I don't think you're older than me. 80s might be pushing it. Or well, no, I guess he'd still play them. Yeah, sorry for
I was about to say.
Inadvertent shit talking there. Sorry about that.
No, it's all good. But basically, from between playing those games, and then I've gone on about Bastion before, I've learned a few things about things like how you want to pace a level, and how you like, especially your starting level. Like, there's so much I could talk about just about like the first level of an ideal game. But as much as I loathe to give this dude credit, I think if you want to talk to or want to listen to someone talk about an intro level, go watch the Mega Man X sequelitis by Aaron Hansen. What he says about that level pretty much sums up how I feel about a lot of starting levels. So basically, in an ideal game, you want, or I would want personally, something that initially is easy to pick up, so not too daunting. You don't throw too many mechanics at them right away. Like, so in Ninja Gaiden, you basically run, jump, and slash and curse as you're still trying to get the idea of clinging to certain walls as you're knocked into them because the stupid I don't know, Rocky Balboa dudes are knocking you into it. It's a lot to take in the first level. Admittedly, I think that the
There's
first level of
boxers?
Ninja Gaiden, yeah, there's like these dudes that just walk around. They're pretty much the Goomba, except no, the boxers are actually a pain in the ass. They will lunge at you if you get close.
I'm referring to the
Which,
Rocky Balboa dude. I don't
right.
think I've ever played Ninja Gaiden. I don't think Karen has either, but I could be mistaken.
And yeah, again, I'm talking about the NES version, not the new version, which honestly I haven't played enough to have much of a say on, but I do still very much enjoy them. That being said, so with Ninja Gaiden and its opening level and the enemies that it introduces, you still get a good idea of how the game is initially played, and you go from the first time you play it, getting a grip on the controls and probably dying the first time, honestly, or the second time. It's not an easy game, even the first level. But once you get it down, you can breeze through it in like 15 seconds. That might be an exaggeration, but it is a piece of cake once you get the memorization. Now, that's actually another thing. Memorization is not something I don't like that in a game. In a modern game, you don't want to keep sending a player back as a punishment for not memorizing the path that you're trying to have them blaze through your game. I don't know if you have any opinions on punishment for death, but I'd love to hear it because I kind of want to spend some ideas on that. That's one thing I think Shovel Knight probably did it best in that case.
I should check out Shovel Knight. I haven't touched that before. I've obviously heard plenty of good things about it, but as far as memorization goes, I completely agree. I think that's territory for speedrunners. And if you're not playing the game in that way, then what's the point? It's kind of that's never. I mean, sometimes it can be rewarding as a mechanism for creating challenge, or just basically saying, well, you want to get it right because if you don't, I'm going to make you do this stupid shit 20 times. And basically force the player. It makes it more rewarding when you finally get it right, I guess. But there's probably better ways to do that, I suppose. But that's kind of the most common one because it's such a simple, straightforward thing that's been done forever. I guess just spreading out the checkpoints more. As far as death goes, I guess that is a punishment for death, so that'd be my take on it.
Yeah, it's tough to think about. Like, checkpoints have always been my go-to because I grew up especially loving things like Super Mario World, Donkey Kong Country, which all had checkpoints. So like you knew that you made it past a tough part or that a tough part was coming when a checkpoint showed up. And then when you died, you're like, okay, you've pretty much given a shot at the challenge ahead of you. Most of the time, it's not too arduous. So I think as levels got longer, checkpoints were better. Unfortunately, Ninja Gaiden 3 and 2, I'm not going to get started comparing the three, but out of the three, the third game is actually the most pain in the ass, but also the most well designed because not only does it send you back, but also has limited continues. So if you get really, really far and happen to lose all your continues, you have to start from the beginning again. And I don't know why they thought that was a good idea. It may have been just an American thing. I couldn't tell you right now. So I would say checkpoints would be the best way to handle challenge as far as like if you were to die, you do get sent back, but there's a check mark that keeps you going and that you're not tearing your hair out that you fucked up.
Okay, but we're operating within a pretty rigid structure here because we are talking. Well, I had to come back to town anyway to put stuff away because I loaded up in the temple. So let me head to bed here.
Did you get anything good?
I get a third saddle, so I guess that's good. Otherwise, not really.
Oh, yeah.
Golden apple
Sweet
if we want to
time.
breed, but breeding horses is going to have to wait because we need a lot more gold. But so, given that we're discussing checkpoints as punishment for death, within the context of what your ideal game is, I'm going to have to assume that that means that your ideal game would be some form of platformer or something along those lines, something with linear progression. Because if you're talking about a more broader game like this, I mean, yeah, you could call a bed a checkpoint because that's where you respawn when you die, right? But at the same time, not really, because
Yeah,
that's not really the
actually
punishment of
saving your
dying.
progress.
Yeah.
If
So-
you die, yeah.
So the ideal game would be I
So,
mean, sorry, I'll
and
shut up for a second.
No, I got you. It's just that this is what kind of Bastion and games like that come in, because I absolutely love basically just any game that can present a hefty challenge and introduce its mechanics in a way that doesn't scare off the player. So again, Castlevania, Ninja Gaiden, Bastion all have pretty high difficulty curves if you want them. Bastion, I think I've talked about their difficulty, the way they handle that before. But if you play at max difficulty, it still feels fair. It's not so much punishing as it is challenging. I think that's the best way I can put it. So you pick up the game, you know that it's difficult, but you can see why it's difficult. Like everything's apparent. Like going back to the Ninja Gaiden example, you'll see like again the boxers they'll lunge at you, and then you'll stick to the wall, and then you don't know why you stuck to the wall initially. This is how I played through it, but then as I learned that okay, that's how you jump off, and to avoid that you just have to stand in particular places. That is an evidence of basically a game teaching you how to play like it wants you to play. And I could go off a bit on that if you would like, but I don't know how. Do you have any opinion on a game basically dictating how a player should play a game?
No, I think that's pretty self-explanatory. It makes sense, but I mean, these are all puzzle pieces that fit into your ideal game. Yes.
Right, yeah, and
Okay.
it doesn't have to be necessarily applied to a platformer or an action adventure like Diablo-like game like Bastion or anything like that.
I'd say Bastion's a lot closer to being a platformer than it is to being a game like Diablo.
But
my
there's
opinion.
no like platforming being done. You
Yeah,
don't.
but it's still very much linear progression, isn't it?
Yeah, but by the nature, like when you think of platformer, like 2D or 3D or isometric, you'll think, Super Mario Brothers, Crash Bandicoot,
Well,
Banjo-Kazooie, which is more of a collectathon, things like that.
basically what you're getting at
because
is
you're jumping on platforms.
yeah, I agree, and
Yeah.
that's what the word platformer means. But at the same time, when you agree that it's a hell of a lot, Bastion's a hell of a lot closer to a game like that than it is to like a loot collecting kind of do the same thing over and over, grinding basically single player MMO or offline MMO game.
Well, I'm comparing more the battle system to the isometric. It's basically a hack and slash, but you're in an isometric view. And the loot you collect isn't nearly as, I guess, arduous, but you're still collecting things along the way. It's just more exploration based.
But it's the loot collecting. I feel shouldn't even be compared because that's like, okay, well, I got my power up, and
Right,
I can pick which ones to use. But it's not the same as saying, okay, well, I got this item that's like there's a very big difference between the way the items are handled. I feel, and it doesn't.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just feel like that's a bad comparison. That's all.
No, I guess I agree. The way items and loot is handled in Bastion is a lot more akin to like Metroid, in which you pick up abilities that you can use afterwards. Not that Bastion is anything like a Metroid game, but just the way the power-ups are handled. So
I'd say it's a little bit like one. Like if you designed a Metroid game that was in that framework of like being a top-down isometric brawler, I don't think it's far off. I mean, you'd be mainly talking about ranged rather than melee, but still.
But Bastion in itself is much more linear than a Metroid game or a Metroidvania game.
Yeah, you're completely right about that. I forgot about that component.
Like, And that's so talking about power-ups. That's actually a good way. That's a good segue. Going from talking about like how death is handled to how the mechanics are introduced to like power-ups. Now in Ninja Gaiden in Bastion, we'll start with Bastion. You don't actually get power-ups right away.
Oop. You guys,
Um,
you guys
I
disconnected
might
there?
be going down. 1 second.
You're
Yeah, I
still
got
on voice.
I might be going down.
I think that's my fault, probably.
Okay, I see. Yeah, I gotcha.
Because I'm like, it's having issues generating new chunks. So I'm sitting right here on the edge of the world in a swamp looking out to the edge here. Yeah, there it goes.
Oh.
Alright, let me do some troubleshooting here real quick live, but please continue on the on your topic. We'll be live in a minute.
Okay, so basically talking about power-ups. If we'll start with Bastion, you don't initially get anything in you just get your hammer. That's the first thing you get, but that's also the first way you attack. So and then everything from that point until you get your next ability.
Hey guys, welcome back. Sorry about that. We thought we were good, but the recording for some reason stopped once I went back to full screen. So unfortunately, we lost a bunch of conversation. So I don't think our conversation will be too disjointed. We kind of figured out where we wanted to be, but apologies in advance if we are a little bit off here. So I believe we were talking about crap, I can't remember now.
I think it was something about Bastion and going in with the first, but that being the first ability, the hammer.
Starting with the hammer, yeah, you're right.
Yeah, teaching you to attack, and now while that itself might not necessarily be the best thing to not give the player an attack right away. I mean, it works in that case, but maybe not universally.
Yep, you cut out there.
Oh, sorry about that. What you do is you still build the level around just basically showcasing exactly what the player will be doing later on in the game, piece by piece. Another good example, a bit newer than the NES games, like I've always thought Donkey Kong Country 2, and the first one, but 2 especially with Dixie Kong, the new player with some new abilities that makes it easier, but also more creative. Like you have a lot more fun.
I played the shit out of the first one on Game Boy, I think.
I played the first one, like, on SNES.
You know what? I bet you I still have the Game Boy cart, too.
That's awesome. I've been looking for that one.
It's a good one. It was like, I think it was yellow, wasn't it?
Yeah, for sure. That was, man.
I gotta find that. I haven't seen that in years.
To buy one. I'm still kicking myself.
Well, I mean, if you just want to play it, you can always emulate it. But I know you're probably a collector thing, so I can understand that.
I got my Super Game Boy, son. I need to make use of it because I obviously don't. I need to get more Game Boy games. But
there's some real good ones. But yeah, sorry to interrupt there.
Yeah. No, but Karen, if you ever get a chance, definitely play the second one, because while the first one is a lot of fun, and I feel generally the more organic experience, Donkey Kong Country 2 takes the format of the bonuses and the really open levels, like, and cranks it up a notch. And as far as like, for one, there's a lot more vertical levels, and I'm not going to get too much into that, but I think you'd have a lot of fun playing the second one because it rewards mastery and also introduces new mechanics like in such an awesome way with the new animal buddies and things like that. So definitely a solid 10 out of 10 Donkey Kong Country 2 in my opinion. I should be adding this to another shiny example.
Oop. Having some server issues again. I don't think it's gonna crash, but it's chugging.
We're giving it all she's got, Captain.
Yeah, seriously, it's what I get for riding a fucking horse, right? Oh, well, we found something. Alright,
Hey.
I'm gonna stop running around for a bit and explore this cave. No more chugging for a bit.
Good.
Anyway, please continue.
So, going back to basically introducing mechanics in the first opening level, as in Donkey Kong Country 2, as the game goes on, the difficulty ramp just goes out the roof, and some of the bullshit level goes up too. I'll be the first to admit that that game gets a little frustrating, but I feel like now, okay, here's an interesting question to bring up. What would be the perfect balance of like setting up an endurance challenge, basically, because a lot of like the barrel blasting in Donkey Kong Country is kind of like this endurance challenge of timing.
Yeah.
So you set up this endurance challenge that takes a long time, and you've only got the one checkpoint you hit, so you got to do it again. And sometimes failing leads you to a bonus, which is always interesting. So it still encourages exploration, but at the same time, you're still going really far back, and especially if it's a really long one, and then at the very end is a super like high like major mastery. Like if you don't have this down by this point, you shouldn't even be playing the game. I feel like it does that sometimes, but then you have to go all the way back and do that shit again. Is that too much, or do you think there should be? I don't know. Like, how would you balance something like that?
Well, I guess we'll both answer. But for me personally, like, it really depends on the game, because if it's obviously there's an appetite for that, because Donkey Kong Country is a very, very high regarded game, or well regarded, I guess is the right way of saying that. It's clearly not bad. So for me to come in and say like, oh well, I think that's horrible, or they shouldn't have hard stuff like that, that's stupid. Obviously they should.
Not necessarily directly as a critique of Donkey Kong Country, but like in a game that would like, again, that pushes you through something like that. If you were to play a game, how would you want it to be handled?
Oh, for me personally, I can't do that shit anymore. I'm not a quick thinker. That's why, like, for me, Final Fantasy XI was better than 14, because it's a slower paced. I mean, the combat anyway. It's just slower paced. I mean, I'm a slow paced kind of guy. I like to stop and think about my decisions and make the right decision. So some of the ones where it's like, okay, well, it's hard, but it's easy enough that I can actually do it. It's rewarding because I go in thinking, well, there's no way I'm going to be able to do this, but then I manage it, and that's good. But other than that, it's kind of hard for me to justify playing something like that. There's games that I've deliberately shied away from specifically because I know I'm trash at them. Like, I watched Northern Lion play Isaac. That's why I started watching him. That's why I inevitably got into this. It's because I can't fucking play Isaac. That's the whole point, is like, I'm never going to be able to play this game, so I may as well watch someone else who actually knows what they're doing do it, because then I can enjoy it without playing it, you know?
Right, I got you. And Binding of Isaac is a good one to come back to. But I think there was a game you mentioned before that while you were talking, I can't remember what you just said, but
Which?
there was a game. Oh, no. It was a game I wanted to recommend. I'm sorry. It was...
Yeah, I thought I only mentioned Binding of Isaac. You're just throwing me for a loop there.
When you were talking about being a deliberate thinker and how a game like that, I'm sorry, I'm stumbling over my words. A good game for something like that, and I've recommended their games before, but Transistor is amazing because you can sit and plan your stuff, and the way that and it can get challenging, and if you mess up and you die, if you lose all your health, you just lose one of your abilities and any abilities attached to it. That's amazing way, in my opinion, to handle something like that. If you're given a plethora of abilities and mechanics to play around with, and you have to recharge by going to stops along the way.
I tried it briefly. I didn't put enough time into it to be able to tell you exactly why, but it didn't work for me. And I know that probably hurts your soul, but for reasons that I cannot explain, Transistor just didn't hit the spot for me. I don't know what to say.
Well, it hurts my soul for the aesthetics, because Transistor.
Oh, no. Aesthetics, yes.
Aesthetic.
Oh, yeah. I agree. Aesthetically, it's beautiful, but that doesn't mean I can play it, you know?
But the gameplay itself isn't for everyone, but it is I think it's a good way to handle what is essentially a turn-based game, but in kind of a new, unique sort of way that I haven't seen before, and it flows really well. And that's something I could go on about, but I don't think I would want to make a turn-based type game because as my ideal game, turn-based games aren't exactly something that I want to. I feel like something that rewards quick thinking and like timing is something that is much more ideal.
You're into kind of the opposite of me, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. Everyone's got different tastes. But I will say that I believe Bastion has better aesthetics than Transistor. I like them more, personally.
Yeah. I could go on, but I'm not gonna go on a friggin' super giant rant right now. But
perfectly justifiable to go either way. They're both beautiful. I just prefer Bastion.
For one, it's definitely personal preference, but Bastion definitely seems to have one that is, I guess by comparison, a bit more fresh, because like you don't see this weird, really bright but apocalyptic Western game, come up very often because it's all these beautiful contrasting colors and then something much more subdued like Transistor. Frankly, I'm a big fan of like the jazz aesthetic, and I love me some Bobby Timmons and some Bill Evans, and I love me the tickling of them ivories. But
were you talking about the music?
Yeah, like jazz, like.
Oh, that okay. No, come on. Darren Korb beats the shit out of anything in Transistor, in my opinion. And that's no disrespect to Transistor. It's just the frickin' Bastion soundtrack. I've bought Bastion like 5 times. The soundtrack is like I've put more time into the soundtrack than the game, and I have absolutely no fucking regrets.
I think I prefer Transistor like soundtrack, to be honest, for someone who didn't play both games.
Well, didn't play either, you mean?
Yeah, sorry.
Well, and it's funny because I can't claim to know what they were thinking, but I feel like when they saw the success of You Dig a Hole, Build a Wall with Ashley Barrett, I think is her name, singing, they probably wanted to showcase her a bit more. And with their small dev team, they had her, Darren Korb, and Logan Cunningham, right? The narrator in both games.
Yeah.
So that was pretty much their voice work. And you got me on my rant, damn it. But I feel like Bastion has, as far as the soundtrack, definitely has something that is more unique. But I feel like Transistor's like, I'll put like a ambient noise generator, put on some rain, and then listen to the Transistor soundtrack and just chill out. But Bastion, I feel has a more, I don't want to say video gamey soundtrack. It just feels it's much more spontaneous because the game is spontaneous. You're attacking live in time. When you're playing Transistor, it's much more deliberate. So the songs are kind of more calm and allow you to think.
So, I will admit that I haven't put that much time into listening to Transistor music. So I owe it another listen. But fucking Bastion's magical, man.
If you like Dig a Hole, Build a Wall, then you'll pretty much love all of Transistor's music.
Yeah, I mean I do, but that's not the only one, and also a lot of the ones without lyrics are fucking amazing as well, and also every single one of them is amazing. I will listen to any one of those songs on repeat for an entire day and not feel particularly bad about it. But that song in particular, I think the reason that I like it as much as I do is within the context of the story of the game. It's not just the song, it's also knowing everything that went into it. I mean, I'm a guy who, this is gonna sound odd, but there's this game, I think it was Ace Combat, it might have been Ace Combat 5. I think it was 4 though, I'm gonna say it was, no, you know what, it wasn't 4, it was 5. Or maybe not 5, it was one of them anyway, but so...
What?
There's like 2 countries that are fighting each other, and then blah blah blah, and you find out that there's a 3rd country that you together kicked the shit out of in a previous war. Imagine if it was like the US and Russia fighting each other, but Germany after World War II had manipulated them to fight each other as revenge for beating them in World War II. Basically, that's the story. And like one of the last missions is like you guys come together and like you sing a song of peace over like the aircraft radio, and everyone's got aircraft, you know, like radio static and shit, and they're all singing this song, and like that's moving to me, even though it's really stupid. And this is not a story-based game, right? But it's brought a tear to my eye more than a couple times, I'll admit to it.
Yeah, and that's one of the amazing things about a soundtrack, which I guess I can go from talking about like the mechanics of the first level and building up to that to the soundtrack, because that's something I'm really passionate about.
Yeah.
I feel like, especially in a game like Ace Combat, which unfortunately I've only played in small doses, but I've loved every single time I played it.
The new ones are horrible from everything I've seen. I just want an arcadey fighter, you know, jet game. That's it. And I don't, the new ones have like this dogfighting bullshit, so you're not missing anything, just play the old stuff. Anyway, sorry for the tangent there.
No, I'll definitely keep an eye out for the PS2 games and things like that.
Absolutely.
But especially in a game where, you know, I feel like when you don't expect a powerful song and one shows up, it has that much more impact. Especially, and I can't say much about the soundtrack for those games, but I get the feeling that for the most part they're, I don't know, what could you say about the rest of the soundtrack by comparison?
In Ace Combat 4 or whatever?
Yeah, or any of them, I guess. I don't know if any of them took a radically different direction in audio, but...
I can only speak to Ace Combat. I actually have Ace Combat 4 soundtrack on my phone because I liked it so much, but that's not the one that had the anthem. It had another thing that was really cool, where like your call sign is Mobius 1, and then they have like all... In the last mission, or one of the last missions, they're like, alright, well, you've been the only one with the call sign Mobius, but now it's the last mission, you're a badass. So now there's Mobius, like, 2 through 30. They're like, everyone's Mobius, which was pretty cool. But it was everything, every song was for one particular mission. It had a particular feel to it, and it, like, the desert one felt like it belonged there. And when I hear that song, I think of it. It's more, for me, it's like more experience-based than necessarily what the song actually is. I guess, which speaks to how I enjoy the music rather than why the music is good, I guess. But it all fit.
Well, yeah, I mean, I play a little bit of music, but I couldn't tell you that how, you know, Koji Kondo came up with the song, and that's why it became amazing. It's incredible to think about how, you know, technically a song in a video game could be very simple or very complex and still send an amazing message to somebody. And that's one thing I love about video game soundtracks in general.
Yeah, most of the music that I enjoy is video game soundtrack stuff, which is why I can't really talk to people about what music I like too much, because they don't, like, in real life, they're sort of, they don't know what the hell I'm talking about. It's completely alien to them.
I mean, this is I'm a bit of a guitar nerd, so if you're not a fan of this type of music, it's fine. But I've found that progressive rock and progressive metal has been an awesome step towards, you know, kind of quote-unquote real-world music.
Well, I like other real-world music. That's not the issue so much, so I have fallbacks. But yes, I like prog rock. Not all of it, but some of it for sure. And I really, really do not want to cut this conversation off, but we're going pretty far over here. We're almost to 40 minutes, so if you don't mind, we'll continue this in the next one, I think. We had another...
I'll try to sum things up next time.
No, it's fine. This is a good I'm really enjoying this conversation. I feel kind of bad that Karen's like basically mute for this episode.
No. I just didn't want to, you know, like butt in when you guys were making a good point.
No, we haven't really given you much opportunity to talk, and that's on us, but mostly on me. But yeah, thank you very much for joining me for this episode, guys, both viewers and Eric and Karen. And hopefully we'll see you in the next one as well. Take care.